Hey, good afternoon. We're going to go ahead and start. A couple of things that I just want to talk to you about. I call them housekeeping. If you go into the folder on OneDrive, and you can just watch me up here, you don't have to do what it is I'm doing, but I want you to look and know where to find this. If you go into the folder that I created for you for this class, you'll see this tutor schedule, and I've showed this tutor schedule to you before, but it's been updated. There are more tutors on here than there has been in the past, and more times on here as well. So know that that's there and that you can take a look at it. There are tutors available for several different courses, not just this course, but several different courses. So please take advantage of them. It is no cost to you. Now, don't expect these people to do your work for you, but they're there to help you and to help guide you through. Most of them have been through the class or through similar classes. Also, inside of that same folder in Excel, just today, and now it is not here, just today I put a folder in here called Excel Presentations. And these are audio presentations for you to listen to. I did not create them. They're a resource that's available with your book. But you can open them in OneDrive and you can just say Start Slideshow and advance through each slide. Okay. We'll try this again and see if she will talk. She does talk on every slide. Hopefully I don't blow you guys out of the water because I have a feeling this is pretty loud.
Scale. Print column and row titles. Print grid lines. And center a worksheet horizontally and vertically on the page. You will also learn how to complete it.
Turn the volume back down. So if you don't want to listen to her, you can pause her. But while you're in here, let's say you need help on using Find and Replace. You can click this link, Find and Replace, and it will take you to the slide. She'll talk about it, or you can pause her and just read what's in the slides. But it's there for you, for a resource, for help, for additional help when you're working. And I just want you to be aware that that is available. You don't even have to go through Start Slideshow. You can advance through each slide separately. Okay, do you hear that? That's actually a computer voice. I think she's reading what's in the notes. Okay, so they're there for all 8 chapters in Excel. And we're going to finish up chapter 4 today and also work in chapter 5. So I just wanted to show you those 2 things, the tutor schedule and then also these Excel presentations. Okay, hopefully by now you're all logged into OneDrive. If you're not, that should be the first thing that you do when you come into class every day. So we don't take the time out of class for you to do that. Hopefully Excel is going to work on your computer today, Quentin, because I sent a message down to the IT department, and I don't know if they've been up yet to fix it. So, so in OneDrive, go into that folder that I created for this class, BUS 235 MOA 1 p.m. Yours is found in the Shared with Me because I created the folder and shared it with you. Go into the Excel part of that and go into chapter 4. If you like to follow along in your book as well as listen to me, turn to page 135 in the Excel section. Page 135, we're going to complete assessment 4 together. The only thing that we haven't gone over yet together is sorting in Excel and using the filter. And this assessment covers both of those. So we're going to do that together during class. Page 135. We're going to open RP invoices in Excel. RP stands for Real Photography Invoices. And then open it in Excel and use it. And I'll give you the time that you need to actually log in to Excel. You log into OneDrive in Excel. I don't have that step, so I have to remember that you do. RP invoices is what we're opening. Once you have it open, we're going to save it with a new name. So File, Save As. Mine looks a little different than yours. Okay, so File, Save As, or click the, I think you can click that Save As button, I'm not sure. Navigate to the folder that you created. So make sure you're in OneDrive, Pratt Community College. Go to Browse. Should show all of your folders that are on your OneDrive.
What page is it on?
Page 135. I have to go to a different place. I've actually created this, so I'm in a different place than you are. But please remember, some of you are still not saving in the right location. You're saving outside of that folder you created, and then you're sharing the file with me every single time. You need to go into the folder that you named called BUS 235 1 p.m. Double click on it to open it up and save inside there. Here's the file name you're going to give it. EL1C-C4-A4-RP invoices. So EL1 stands for Excel Level 1, -C4 stands for Chapter 4, -A4 stands for Assessment 4, -RP invoices. What? Your computer's running slow? If you have your textbook, you can turn to page 135. That's step number 2. And I'm going to save over mine. Yes, that fly won't leave. I think he's the same one. Okay, and here's what you have. The title, the new name is saved up here in the title bar, so you can look at it if you need to save still. Okay, moving on to step 3, it says insert a formula in G4 that multiplies the amount in E4 with the percentage in F4 and then adds the product to cell E4. Okay, so it says insert a formula in G4. So you're going to need to be in cell G4. That's where our answer is going to be. All formulas start with a what? Equal sign. And so it tells us we need to multiply the amount in E4 with the percentage in F4. So we're going to click in cell E4. We have our equal sign. That tells Excel that we're working with formulas. Click in E4 times F4. We're not done because then it says, and then adds the product to cell E4. So plus E4. Now, when you're working in Excel, you do need to follow order of operations, just like you're working in algebra, because a formula is a formula, whether you're working in a math class or if you're in Excel. Now, in this case, we don't need to include parentheses. A lot of people will put parentheses around the E4 times F4, but in order of operations, our multiplication is done before our addition. So we don't need parentheses, but there will be times when you might. So you have to kind of have a general idea of order of operations. The book also tells us in this step that the result in cell G4 will display a number. So as soon as I press enter, I get $488.25, and that's what the book says that I should have. Now, please don't ever just type a value in this cell. Some of you will think, well, I could just type $488.25 in cell G4 because that's what the answer should be. And if you do that, it's going to be counted wrong because I look to make sure you have a formula. And if you don't put a formula in here, you can't use your fill handle to fill down. And that's what makes Excel powerful, because if without Excel, we have to figure each one of these. But because we are using Excel, we can go back to cell G4. We can use our fill handle and drag it all the way down to cell G17. It will fill that formula. The book also tells us to choose fill without formatting. So in the options in the lower right-hand corner, once we've used the fill, click the drop-down arrow and choose fill without formatting. That puts our little gray lines back in here. Otherwise, every cell would have no shading. Step 6, we're going to use the find and replace. Now I want you to deselect what's selected by clicking in a blank cell or another cell somewhere. If we were to just have this selected still like we did, like this, when we use find and replace, it would only look at the area we have selected. So we want to deselect first. Step 6 on page 135 says find all occurrences of the word picture and replace them with the word portrait. Do not type a space after picture or portrait because you want to find occurrences that end with an S. And then make sure the match entire cell contents checkbox does not contain a check mark. On the home ribbon, on the far right-hand side, you have the binoculars that says find and select. Click on that drop-down arrow and choose replace. We did this in Microsoft Word, very much the same. It says find what? We're going to type the word picture. Make sure it has a capital P. I don't know if find what, if the capital makes a difference, but replace with definitely makes a difference. And then type the word portrait. So capitalize the P in portrait. If we don't, it won't be capitalized when it replaces the word picture. In the Word assignment that we did with find and replace, we had a legal agreement, a lease agreement, and a lot of you put that replace with and you put that name in all caps, and it appeared in all caps every time it had that name in the lease agreement. So you need to really be careful in this example. Now click this options tab, because the book specifically told us to make sure that the match entire cell contents does not contain a check mark. And that area is right here. By default, it is not selected, but they want us to make sure that it's not selected. If it was selected, it would not find any words, because our words up here is actually pictures with an S, not just picture. And if we matched the entire cell contents, it wouldn't find it, because family pictures is not what we're finding. Does that make sense? There are wildcards we can use, like an asterisk or a question mark, but you kind of have to experiment with some of those. Now click replace all, and you should have 8 replacements. Should say all done. We made 8 replacements. If you do, then you did this correctly. If that doesn't say 8 replacements, you may have put a space after the word picture or portrait. So go ahead and click OK and close. Now what just happened? In column C, family portraits, it did say family pictures. Wedding portraits, it said wedding pictures, and we changed the word picture with portraits. It's a lot easier to do it one time than to go in here and find each one of these and correct them. So that's find and replace. Now step 7 says we're going to sort the records by invoice number in ascending order, smallest to largest. We've done sorting in Microsoft Word. The difference here, when you sort, you need to make sure you're including these column titles right here. So we need to select from A3, so click inside of A3 and drag through G17. We're selecting, we're not using our fill handle, we're selecting. And on the home ribbon on the far right, we see sort and filter. Click this drop down arrow and choose custom sort. Now, because I chose these column headings, they're going to show up in my sort by, my column sort by area. And when I click on this drop down arrow here, I'm going to see those column headings. If I had not selected those, it would be difficult for me to sort the way that I needed to. And step 7 tells us to sort the records by invoice number. So we're going to choose invoice number. Sort by invoice number. And the default for each one of our sorts, we actually will sort 3 times, is the order. We don't ever have to change this order according to the book. So it said by invoice number in ascending order, smallest to largest. So here we are, smallest to largest. We're getting serenaded. Now notice also up here it says my data has headers and we have a check mark in it. And I use that because it makes it much easier to sort our data. Go ahead and click OK. And you'll notice all of our invoice numbers are in numerical order. And it didn't confuse the data. We selected it first because I have seen, and I'm just going to do it for you. I have seen students that go in here. Now remember, invoice 1129 is client 11279 development, which is spelled incorrectly, and I skipped the spell check part. But I'm going to not select anything, and I'm going to choose sort smallest to largest. And it gives me an error. Let's say I just select this and I sort. It says there's something wrong. I'm going to continue with the current selection, and I want to show you what will happen. Well, I need to do it the other way because I've already done it, largest to smallest. All it did was sort my invoices, and it didn't sort the rest of the data. So now I'm all messed up because the invoice that went with this client is actually 1129. So you have to be really careful. That's the purpose in selecting all of this first. And now it should still be selected if it's not selected again, A3 through G17. We've sorted it by invoice number. And now we're going to complete a new sort that sorts the records by client number in ascending order. So go back to sort and filter and click the drop down arrow and choose custom sort. And it says sort by invoice number. We're going to click the drop down arrow and it tells us client number. So we choose client number. And by default, it's A to Z, and that's what they tell us to do. In ascending order, A to Z. So click OK. And you'll see now we're organized by client number. Now we're going to do our last sort. Select A3 through G17. Sort and filter, custom sort. And the last one tells us to complete a new sort that sorts by date in ascending order, oldest to newest. So sort by, we choose date, and it is the default. Now, before we go on, I want to tell you in this example, they told us to do 3 completely new sorts. There are times where we can sort on more than one level. So maybe I'm going to sort these by date, and then I could add a level and sort them by invoice, and add a level and sort by client number. New sorts, completely new sorts, are different than adding levels in sorting. So I just want you to be aware of that, because some of you might have taken those 3 sorts and done 3 levels, and it won't end up the same if you do that. So go ahead and click OK. And now we're sorted by date, the oldest date to the newest date. Step 10 tells us to insert a footer in our worksheet that prints your name at the left side of the page and the current date at the right. Click the Insert tab. And down here towards the right in the text gallery, click Header and Footer. Now it's going to look different than it looked on Monday. I kind of showed this to you that it might be an option the way it shows up. And I want you to be aware of both methods for doing this. Some people prefer this method, and that's fine. Right now we're in the header. My blinking cursor is in the center cell and it says Header. I have a new Header and Footer Tools Design tab that shows up at the top of my page. I can click in there, Go to Footer, or I could scroll down and go to the footer myself. But go to Footer, and it takes me to my footer. I need to click in the left cell and type my name. Tab twice so that I'm in the right cell, and it already has a right tab in it. And on that header and footer toolbar that shows up, I can click Current Date. Now these tabs are exactly the same as we looked on Monday when we were in the page setup gallery. They were the small little tabs where we clicked file name or insert date or time. It's the same thing. So click Current Date, and it gives us this function, and that's the way it's supposed to look when we're in this view. Now, deselect this cell by clicking in one of these blank cells. And in the status bar down here in the lower right-hand corner, choose Normal View. It's the one on the left. It has the grid pattern. And we're kind of lost in our spreadsheet. You could scroll up and scroll over if you want to, or you can press the Control Home keys and it will take you back to cell A1. Control Home will take you to cell A1. Now, step 12 tells us to center the worksheet horizontally and vertically on the page. Click the Page Layout tab and expand your page setup gallery. So in the gallery in the lower right-hand corner, click on the More button. This is where I would have put my header and footer in. I would have done step 10 and 12 right here at the same time. So it would have saved me a little bit of time, but they're both done the same. The footer is done exactly the same as we did it on Monday when we're in this page setup dialog box. Click the Margins tab, and we'll first do the center horizontally and vertically on the page. So put a check mark in each one of those because the book told us they do want them centered horizontally and vertically. Now click the Header and Footer tab. Remember when we just clicked Custom Footer and we added our footer in here? Well, it's already here and it shows us a little preview. So we can do this way, or we can go to Insert, Header and Footer. Either one of those ways is right. You get the same result. Click OK. You have to just decide which method works best for you. Okay, now we're going to go look at this in a print preview. But we're not going to go to File Print like we normally do. We're going to use this Quick Access toolbar up here in the upper left-hand corner of our title bar. And there's, at the far right in the upper left-hand corner, there is an arrow with a line above it. Yes, you can see that. I want you to click on that and go down to where it says Print, Preview, and Print. Now for you, when you come to class on Friday, this won't be here. But it will stay, and I use this all the time at home. All I need to do now is click this button that just appeared. It's a new tool on the Quick Access toolbar. If I click that, it takes me right to Print Preview with just one click instead of File, Print. And notice on the centered horizontally and vertically, we did not change our margins like we did on Monday. And so it's centered between that top margin and bottom margin. And it's centered from the left to the right. I call that center, center. You can press escape, or you can click your little back arrow in the upper left-hand corner. I also at home, I add the quick print on this quick access toolbar, and it will just print. You won't get a print preview. It'll just send it directly to whatever printer you have installed as your default printer. And sometimes that's what I want. Like when I print a certain letter over and over again, I don't need to preview it. I just click the print button. You guys don't need to add that. I just wanted you to see what these options are up here, and you can turn a lot of these different things on. If you use something all the time, you can go to more commands and add other items up there as well. Okay, I want you to click save. You've already saved it. You've already gone to save as. It has a new name, so just click the disk icon. It should have 2 green arrows on it. It is updating your file on OneDrive. You don't have to go to save as and replace the current file. I know I've seen a lot of people do that. Okay, we are getting ready for step number 14, and we are actually going to save 3 different times. So we're going to complete the first filter, save it with a new name, complete the second filter, save it with a new name, and the same thing with the third. So step 14A says to filter a list of rows containing client number 11-279. So the first thing we need to do is turn our filter on. We're going to select cells A3 through G3. Click the Home tab, and on the far right-hand side, click the drop-down arrow by Sort and Filter, and click Filter. It kind of looks like a funnel. As soon as we do that, we get some drop-down arrows next to each one of these column titles. So invoice has a drop-down number, client number, and so on and so forth. And step A tells us to filter a list of rows containing client number 11-279. So we're going to click on, first we're going to deselect by clicking in a blank cell. I've honestly never tried that with that row still selected, so I always deselect, so maybe it would work, I don't know. Click the drop-down arrow next to client number. And we're going to deselect the select all. Right now we're seeing all client numbers. So click in where it says select all so that nothing is selected. And scroll down until you find 11-279 and put a check mark in the box next to it. Because now the only information that will show up are the clients who have the number 11-279. Click OK. We have 3 of them. So this is one client, and we're sending that one client 3 different invoices for their photography, for wedding portraits and development of those wedding portraits. So all we see is that one client that we wanted to look at. Now we're going to save this. So go to File, Save As. Do not just click the disk. It will save over the old one. You should have the current folder should show up here. You could click where it says current folder. And you're going to add a 14A at the end. So at the end of this file name, just add 14A. That's step 14A. And click Save. So it's EL1, C4, A4, RP invoices, 14A. And I've already got it, so it's asking me, are you sure you want to replace it? I'm saying yes. Now we're going to clear that filter. So next to client, you'll notice it's not a drop-down arrow anymore, it's that funnel. If you click that little icon, it says clear filters from client number. It's got the little funnel with an X. Go ahead and click that. So that's clearing the filter. Now we're going to do letter B. It says to filter a list of rows containing the top 3 highest amounts due. Click the drop-down arrow next to amount due. This one's different than we've done before. Go down to number filters. There is no top 3, but there is a top 10. So let's click the top 10, because once we click that, we can make changes to it. And what do we want to show? Well, the book tells us we're going to show the top 3. So instead of 10, we're going to choose 3. So you can arrow down to 3, or you can highlight the 10 and type 3. Now, if by chance it said the bottom 3, we could click in the drop-down arrow next to top and choose bottom. So you can change that. Just know that if it wants you to choose the top or bottom of any range of numbers, you choose the top 10. And then we change it to whatever we need it to say. So it should say, show the top 3 items. Go ahead and click OK. And you will have 3 invoices that show up, and those are the top 3 amounts due. Of all the invoices we had earlier, these are the highest, the top 3, the highest amount. Yes?
Would we do the same if we just look at all and select the top 3?
Yeah, but what if you have 500 invoices? Which one would be easier? Okay, that's a good question, because I questioned the same thing on a small table like this, but normally they're going to have a lot more than just what we're seeing. So, because you would end up with the exact same thing that we have. But time-wise, this is much quicker. So that is a good question. All right, let's clear the filter. Remember to click this icon next to, oh no, sorry, if you cleared it, click your undo key, because we need this to be here. We have to save it still. Sorry. Go to File, Save As. Go to this current folder and change that little A at the end to a B, because that was step 14B. And save. By the time we're done with this one, we'll actually have 4 worksheets, workbooks. Okay, now clear the filter. Clear filter from amount due. And step C tells us to filter a list of rows containing amounts due that are less than $500. So click your drop-down arrow again next to amount due and choose number filters. And we're going to choose less than. We're not choosing less than or equal to, because the book would be very specific with us. And it says less than 500. So we're going to choose less than. And we're going to type 500 in here. Now, once again, we could have more than one level. We could also change this is less than to any of these other options, but we want the is less than. So it should say show rows where amount due is less than 500. Click OK. One thing I want you to see is on the left-hand side, do you see how your row numbers are no longer in order? Those rows that appear to be missing, they're really there. They're just hidden. So your table is still here. They're just hidden because we created this filter and we filtered out the data we didn't want to see, and we're only viewing the data that we do want to see. So here we have all the invoices that are less than $500. Go ahead and once again go to File, Save As, and change that B to a C. And that was the end of assessment number 4 on sorting and filtering. We're not going to click Save again because we already have saved our 4 workbooks. We saved the original one, and then we have 3 filters. So we can close Excel. That finished up chapter 4. Now we're moving on to chapter 5. Chapter 5 deals with copying and pasting and the different ways that we do that. It's not just a normal paste. And in OneDrive, Right now, I'm in chapter 4. I'm going to click the Excel link in my path and go back a level and choose chapter 5. And there are 2 documents that we're going to open. One is a Word document and the other is an Excel spreadsheet. So the first one is the DW quarterly, that's not it, it's DW letter. DW letter. It's a Word document. I want you to go ahead and click on it and open it in Word. We're not going to do anything to it yet, but we will. So DW letter. Go to File, Save As. Browse to the folder where you're going to save it, because you can't save it in the current folder because you don't have the rights to save there. So you have to browse to the folder where you will save it on OneDrive. And mine is different than yours, remember that, so you can't really follow what I'm doing right now because I have a different path to save than you do. And you're going to give it this name, EL1-C5-A5-DWLTR. So instead of just clicking in this file name and retyping it all, click right before the D in DW letter and only type this that's at the beginning. Saves you a little bit of time. So EL1 stands for Excel Level 1. -C5 stands for Chapter 5. -A5 stands for Assessment 5. And then -DW letter. For those of you following in the book, I'm on page 182 and 183. And I really will not follow the steps in here. We'll end up with the same result, but just so you are aware of that. 182 and 183. And 183 is where it gives you, oh no, I guess, never mind. 182 is where it gives you the name of this file. What's it saying when you try to open? Okay, I'm going to save over the one I have. You don't have one in there, but I've already done this twice today, so. Okay, so we have Word open down here in our taskbar. Now go back to your internet browser, whether it's Internet Explorer or Chrome, it doesn't matter. And you're going to open DW Mortgages. It's right below DW Letter in our OneDrive list, DW Mortgages, and open it in Excel. And you're going to go to Save As, navigate to the location where you'll be saving this. Make sure that it's that folder that you have shared with me, that you're inside that folder that you shared with me that you created. And here's the name of the file. It looks just like the mortgage one or the letter. The only difference is this is DW Mortgages and it's an Excel spreadsheet and not a Word document. So it's EL1, and my L is not capitalized, so that's why it looks different. EL1 C5 A5. So EL1-C5 A5 DW Mortgages. And click Save. Now remember, it's in this title bar if you need to see the title. Now we're going to use both of these. We're going to create something in Excel. It's already been created for us, but we're going to pretend like we created it. And we're going to use it in Microsoft Word. We're going to paste it into Microsoft Word so that if we make any changes in our spreadsheet, those changes will appear in Microsoft Word. Now, it's just not these two programs where you can do that. You can actually do that with all 4 Office applications, or 5 if you include Publisher. But we can link data from one program to another program. And it's not just pasting, it's a special way to paste. So with this DW Mortgages, the active program, Excel, the active program, we're going to select cells A2 through G10. So this is the data that we want to appear in our Word document. If we just copied and pasted this like normal, it would just paste a picture, basically, of our data. But we want it to actually update. So now we're going to copy, and we're going to copy just like we always copy. Control-C, right-click copy, or the Home tab copy. However you copy, the copying part of this doesn't change. Once we copy, we get these little marching ants around the selection we've copied. Now we're going to click on the Word document. And the book tells us right between these 2 paragraphs, we're going to click right in the middle here. This is where we're pasting our data. But we're not just going to paste like normal. We're going to choose Paste Special. So on the Home tab, where it says Paste in the far left-hand corner, click the drop-down arrow and go down to Paste Special. Once this dialog box comes up on the left side, choose Paste Link. And then choose Microsoft Excel Worksheet Object. And click OK. Now, on my laptop here at the school, this did not work properly. It truncated from this term of loan. All I could see was the 3, and the rest of this would not appear. It didn't matter what I did. I actually had to paste it a different way. I don't want you to do this, but I want you to watch. So if for some reason this doesn't work for you when you're working at home, you would go back to this paste, the drop-down arrow for paste, and you have these options right here. Link and keep source formatting. This would have the formatting of the Excel document. That's the source. Or link and use destination style. That would be whatever the style is for the letter that you're working in. So either one of those would be correct. You could use them. We would have to do some changes because our little $sign shows up at the top. It means these columns aren't big enough. And we would have to go in here and resize them by double clicking. We would auto fit just like we would if we were right in Excel. I'll try to find that. Okay, but because it did work, we can use the one that you have actually. Hang on just a minute. Yes. Okay. And it wouldn't be wrong to do that, but because they already have a copy of the letter, you would need to copy it. Yeah. Okay, now I'm going to go back to where I was so that I'm in the same place that you were. I just want you to know that if this didn't work, there is another way to do that. Okay, this is what's called a link, meaning that what you see right here may change. So let's look at this for a minute. This is a letter from a financial services company they're sending out to one of their clients that says, here is some information about a home loan. If you purchase a home for $300,000 and you have varying rates of down payment, so if you have a 5% down payment, here's what you'll pay for your down payment. Here's the amount of your loan. If it's a 7% rate for 30 years, here's what your monthly payment will be. Okay, all of this was done. I was thinking the same thing. All of this, just wait till we get to the $400,000 house. All of this was done in Excel. Because in Excel, we can have all these neat functions like the payment function and all of that. And when we change the price of this home, all of this updates automatically. This loan amount, this down payment amount, this loan amount, and monthly payment amount change. So click on Excel down here in the bottom, your taskbar, and deselect by clicking in a blank cell somewhere. You'll notice, I'm going to select cell G3. You'll notice there's a formula in G3. We're not going to mess with it. We don't want to change it. It's called a payment formula. So as soon as I change the data in cell A3, it will automatically update cells C3, cells D3, and cells G3. So let's do that. In cell A3, instead of 300,000, type 400,000. So a $400,000 home at a 5% down payment would give us a loan amount of $380,000. And at 7% for 30 years, our payment would increase to $2,528. Now let's fill cell A3. So click cell A3 and use your fill handle and fill that all the way down to A10. Choose fill without formatting. Be sure in your options down here for your autofill, you choose fill without formatting because we don't want those dollar signs. We're putting this in a professional letter. So we've changed the price of the home in the entire column to $400,000, but we have varying down payments, varying interest rates. So we could look and decide which home loan works best for us or for the client. In this case, it would be the client because we're creating this to put in the letter. Click Save. You've already named it. It's already saved. Click the Save button. You don't have to go to Save As. Close Excel. Word is still open. I want you to right-click on this link that you just put in here from Excel and choose Update Link. It's got the red exclamation point. What just happened? It might take a minute. Your price of the home should change to $400,000. I'm not sure why mine is taking. Did yours take this long? Okay, mine finally changed. This morning it didn't take that long. I did have one student, we had to save Word, close it, reopen it for it to update. If you make a change in Excel and Word is not open, it will still change, but when you go to open the Word document, it will say, you have a link in here, do you want to update it? And you can choose yes, and then it will give you the updated information. So this is called pasting a link, copying and linking data. I want you to go ahead and click Save in this Word document. And go ahead and close Word. Now the last couple of things that I'm going to show you won't take very long at all. And I'm going to use this DW Mortgages. So if you have this screen still up, then click the X and go ahead and open it again in Excel. We're not going to save this. Even though it says read only, well, I don't know. I don't think you guys can actually click in here and do anything, can you? Yeah, see, I can. Okay, that's not going to work then. Close that one. It will work for me, but it won't work for you. So go back to OneDrive into the folders that you created in your files. It says VUS 235 MOA, or no, it says VUS 235 1 p.m. And I'll go find mine and open that EL1C5A5 DW Mortgages. That's yours, so you shouldn't have to. There should be nothing read-only about it. Mine actually says read only, but I can click edit workbook. Can you click edit workbook? Now that's weird that it would be read only and it's your file. Okay, so you went to the folder that you created. You went to your files into BUS 235 1 p.m., not the one I created, but the one you created. And you're opening DW mortgages. It's like EL1, here it is, C5, A5, DW mortgages, the one we were just looking at. I should have had you leave it open, but I wanted you to see that that would work even with it closed. Okay, hit your refresh. Hit your refresh button. Okay, this is called a workbook, and inside this workbook, we have different sheets. Right here we have sheet 1, and we're going to add another sheet. So click the plus sign right next to that in the lower left-hand corner, and we now have a second sheet. We're going to rename these sheets. So double-click where it says sheet 2, and let's just name it May. And let's double click sheet 1 and name it April. So we can rename these to whatever we need so that we can see what it is we're working on. I know a company right here in Pratt that does all of their invoicing in Excel. And they actually have 180, I don't know how many, hundreds of tabs across the bottom of sheets, and each one is the number of their invoice. So 1101, 1102, 1103. So when someone calls that talks about an invoice, she'll open a workbook that's actually named 1101 through 1199, or however she does it. And when she opens it up, there's all of these tabs along the bottom. I use QuickBooks Pro, which is an accounting software program, and so I can just search for the invoice. I love Excel, but to me that would take some time. But there may be times, I think I told you about my friend who works for Microsoft, and he has 4 monitors across his desk. He could have 1 sheet open on each monitor. So 1 workbook open with 4 sheets, and he's each viewing something different. We can also color code these tabs. So let's right click on April and go to tab color, and let's choose red, just plain old red in our standard colors. Right click on May to make it the active sheet, and go to tab color and change it to dark blue. Now notice when April is not the active sheet, that it actually shows up red. But when you do have an active sheet, like in this case May, my blue shows up as a gradient. So let's make April our active sheet. We're going to copy the data that's in this sheet. So I'm going to click, and I don't know why, it's going to copy, and it's going to copy weird, but that's okay. Let's click in cell G10. The reason I'm not clicking in cell E1 is because if I do, I select the graphic that's up there instead of the cell. So I'm actually going to start in cell G10, and I'm going to drag through A1. So I'm copying it backwards. And just copy, Control C. We're not doing any kind of special copy and paste right now. We're going to copy from this sheet April, and we're going to paste it into the sheet May. So click May and paste. We're in cell A1 and paste. Control B, right click paste, click paste. Now it looks weird, I know, because this logo does its weird thing, but I'm not worried about what it looks like. When you copy in the assignment that you have, there's none of that weird stuff that's going to happen. If it does, you would just go in and fix some of those things. Now, if I wanted to move some of this data, let's select the very bottom row. So A10 through G10. I get this heavy border around the outside, and let's say for some reason I need to move it. Instead of deleting it or cutting it and pasting it and retyping it or whatever, we can just simply move it. If we put our mouse over that heavy border, we get the crosshairs, the 4 arrows. We can click and we can drag it to wherever we want. Let's go down to row 13 and drop it. So all of our formulas went with us. The formulas automatically update. That's why we call them cell references, because they're referencing a cell, and they update for us. I could also copy and paste part of this. So earlier I copied and pasted between worksheets, but I could copy and paste just in this one sheet. I could also copy and paste between workbooks. So I have this one workbook open, and you do have an assignment where you open 2 workbooks. It might be more than 2 actually, but I think that it's 2 workbooks, and you copy and paste between them. And same thing, you just copy from the one, you make sure you're in the correct workbook, and then you paste to that one. So are there questions about copying and pasting? By the way, when I copied, those things stay on the clipboard until I clear them. So right now I couldn't paste because I've already done something after. If I were to select this row again and copy, I could paste it over here. It's still on my clipboard, so I could paste it a whole bunch of different times. This drop-down arrow tells me my different methods for pasting, whether I want to use links, whether I want formatting and formulas, all of those different things. We used to have a clipboard button, but I think it's gone away. He was kind of annoying, is why. He was a little paper clip called the clipboard. But you could choose. So that just stays until I tell it not to, until I'm finished and I go somewhere else. See, it's still on my clipboard. All right, I want you to close this without saving. When it asks you to save, say don't save. The assignments that you're going to work on come from chapter 5. Let me move them into your folder. Okay, so in your class folder under the A assignments, it's today's date. And it is two assignments. Assessment number 4 on pages 181 and 182. That's where you're copying between workbooks. And then the visual benchmark. You will actually create a small worksheet, copy a few cells, apply some formatting, copy to another sheet, format the sheet. Neither one of them should take you very long at all. I would say you should have both of them finished within 10 to 15 minutes. Don't leave yet. On Friday in class, I don't want you to work on this ahead of time, and I can tell because everything in OneDrive is time-stamped. The date you create it, the date you upload it, the date it's modified, all of that is time-stamped so that I can see that. But Friday, we're going to use that as a makeup day. So any assignments you do not have completed that I've graded so far, you can work on completing those or make corrections to assignments that you've already done. It'll be this one opportunity to correct some of those things. And it will be whatever you can get done during class. So please be here. And I'm speaking to the choir because you're here. But don't plan on being gone on Friday that way, because you won't get to do that any other time. Are there questions about what we covered today? Okay, have a good afternoon. Sorry to keep you past.